warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Oh, you pressed the wrong button. Oh, residual.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Another big Thursday night for you as we come to you from our studios in downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut and Pat Daniel together tonight. Chris Bergen, he's up in Boone, North Carolina. He's got Coastal Carolina basketball tonight. And so Pat and I will carry on. Without Chris, we'll be keeping a watch on that game. Last night, Clemson went to Notre Dame, and a team, Clemson, that was third in the country in three-point shooting. Well, now they're 17th in the country in three-point shooting after making 19% of their three-point attempts last night. You know, at some point in time, if you're a basketball team and you're not making three-point shots, my advice is stop taking them. You know, work the ball inside. Make the next pass. Get into the lane. Move inside the line. I mean, I know analytics say the three-point shot better than the two-point shot. If you make enough of them, percentage-wise, you'll be ahead. But still, if you're not making them, do something else. And bad performance by Clemson last night. Of course, Notre Dame they're playing a little better. That's 6 wins in a row for Notre Dame. They've had some good wins. They've had some interesting losses, the Irish, but they're playing well right now. And that was a disappointing loss for Clemson. Clemson was trying to win a third straight ACC road game for the first time in 25 years. That would have been a nice feather in the cap. And considering they were coming off a win at NC State, and they had Boston College coming in on Saturday to Littlejohn, a very winnable game for Clemson. The Tigers could have put a nice little run together here. So they'll have to try and rebound against Boston College on Saturday. The USC women, the top-ranked team in the country, at home tonight to take on Texas A&M. That game will tip off at the Colonial Life Arena a little bit after 7 o'clock. USC women hope to continue their winning ways tonight against Texas A&M. And South Carolina's women have, they've had some close calls this season. They haven't been, but of course they've played very good competition. And if you're expecting domination every time, you're not going to get it. Now, they are coming off a dominating win over Kentucky by 20. Prior to, they had a 6-point win. They had a 12-point win. They had that 1-point loss to Missouri, 4-point win over Stanford, 9 points over Duke, 6 points over Maryland. They really haven't had a lot of easy outings this year, but the competition's been good. They've got like 8 wins over top 20 teams this season. So certainly preparing them well for what's ahead in the postseason. The Aggies come in 10-5, 0-3 in the SEC. And what is Gary Blair's last season as a coach of the Aggies? He's won 848 games in his coaching career, about half of them at A&M, 440 at A&M. Gamecocks lead that series 7-4. So South Carolina women, Texas A&M women tipping off a little bit after 7 o'clock. South Carolina is about ready to fill that vacancy on its coaching staff. The Board of Trustees meeting tomorrow for a conversation regarding a contract for an athletic position, I believe to be about the defensive end spot. It looks like, based on what J.C. Sherbert, the Big Spur, has been writing, it looks like Sterling Lucas, an Orangeburg native, who was a linebacker with the Bruins of Orangeburg-Wilkinson, and a good one. He was a Shrine Bowler, and he went to NC State and played there, played a little bit in the NFL, and he's been coaching in Jacksonville. Looks like he might be the guy. He was in town, according to J.C. Sherbert, and interviewed with Shane Beamer this week. Christian Robinson was another. Christian Robinson, whose dad, Gus Robinson, was an outstanding linebacker at South Carolina. Back in the 80s, I think? Gus was from Charleston, heck of a player. And so was Christian. Christian was an excellent player at he was coaching at Florida. Did he play at Florida? Did he play at Georgia? He's from Georgia. I remember following him in recruiting because South Carolina was recruiting him, of course, trying to have him follow in his dad's footsteps. I can't remember if he ended up at Georgia or Florida, but he's been coaching at Florida. He was another one that was apparently interviewed. But again, the last word that I saw from the Big Spur was that it was most likely, probably looking like Sterling Lucas, the Orangeburg native, who would bring NFL experience, just like Mike Peterson. You know, Mike Peterson with his 14-year NFL career, for the kids who want to be coached by guys who have the NFL experience. Well, now you would have a guy who played a little bit in the NFL and is coached in the NFL. So we'll see what happens. And Shane Beamer is doing a Zoom with the media tomorrow at 3 o'clock, about an hour after the Board of Trustees has its meeting. And the purpose of his Zoom is to, recruiting campaign here in January, and then starting to get ready for spring practice. They've already set the dates for their spring practice and the dates for their spring game. So we got all that coming up for you tomorrow here on the show. Tonight, Mike Morgan will be with us. Morgan on the move. Mike was at home last night, but he was calling the Missouri-Arkansas game, and what a blowout that turned into. I mean, Missouri was just dead on their feet from the opening tip against Arkansas. Arkansas was looking for its first SEC win of the season. They were not going to be denied at home again, and they just spanked Missouri last night. So we'll get the latest from Mike on what he's seeing around the SEC, ACC, and college basketball in general. That'll be coming up a little bit after 7 o'clock. And also tonight, coming up at 7:30, we'll be welcoming to the program for the first time the new head football coach at Presbyterian College, Steve Englehart, who just recently was named the new head coach. And as a matter of fact, today he announced a pair of coaches to his staff. Jason Martin will be the assistant head coach, recruiting coordinator, and work with the tight ends. And Daniel Owen will be the defensive coordinator. So we'll learn more about them from their new boss and the new head coach at Presbyterian, Steve Englehart. That'll be coming up at 7:30 tonight. So we got a good show lined up for you. We'll have the latest in recruiting as well. Keep an eye on the college basketball that's happening too. I mentioned Coastal Carolina and Appalachian State. You've also got UNC Asheville and Winthrop. Big matchup in the Big South. The Bulldogs are 2-0. The Eagles are 1-0. You got Greensboro playing at the Citadel, and that's the only other game involving a state team tonight. Pat, you got something? You look like you got something on your mind. No, you're good? All right, the phone number, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery, lucky number here on Sports Talk. A lot of great calls last night. I really appreciate the calls. And we can pick up on topics from last night, create some new topics tonight. Anything that's on your mind, questions, comments, observations, praise. If you got something to criticize, I don't know what it is you could criticize, but if you got something to criticize, we'll take that on as well. 888-898-2525 is the number. We'll jump to your calls after the break.
Relax on and off the field with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. If you're looking for low rates, look to Founders. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
All South Carolinians aged 5 years and older are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. For help finding a vaccine location in your area, visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110. COVID-19 vaccines are free and don't require ID or insurance. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110 to find a vaccine location near you.
There are no words to describe it. The isolation, the boredom, the loneliness. If you're wondering where your teenage son or daughter's spirit went, you're hardly alone. The past year has been devastating, especially for them. But here's the good news. They might just find it again, playing high school sports. Workouts that stimulate, teammates and coaches that care, the sense of belonging so many of us have been missing lately. That's what school sports are all about. The sense of achievement is real, and the camaraderie is hard to beat. Coping with uncertainty is difficult, but school sports can help the teenagers in your family start feeling like themselves again. Encourage them to give it a try. High school sports, it's so much more than a game.
This message presented by the South Carolina High School League and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
Back we are on Sports Talk. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, and since 2002, more than $6 billion with a B in lottery proceeds have been used to support South Carolina's educational programs. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery impact at sceducationlottery.com/education wins, and playing for fun is a win for education. All right, so we got a report out there now confirming Sterling Lucas as the hire. Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark, Gamecock Central reporting that now. And I'm sure the Big Spur is as well. And USC is not immediately confirming the news, but I think the handwriting there is on the wall, if not on the contract at this time. So, looks like a good hire to me. South Carolina guy. Didn't play at South Carolina. I remember back in the day in his recruiting, there was interest. There was interest between South Carolina. That would have been Spurrier. That would have been during the Spurrier years, I think. Go back and look at his years at NC State. I think it would have been during the Spurrier years. And I don't know if South Carolina went after him real heavily, as heavy as NC State did back then. And he stuck with his commitment to NC State and had a good career at State, and now is going to get a chance to come back to his home state and coach for the Gamecocks. So I think that, at least on paper, it looks like a good hire, guy with good experience. Will know the territory of South Carolina that he will recruit. And, of course, he'll be in other areas as well, recruiting players for his position. More on that tomorrow from Shane Beamer after he meets with the media. All right, to your phone calls we go. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Hank in Columbia, probably on his way over to the CLA for women's hoops tonight. Hank, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Corn. I'm already here. I hadn't gone in yet. Just wait. If you're gonna park down here, you got to get down earlier. You be parking 10 miles away.
Oh, are you okay? I don't have that problem for the men's game. I can just pull right up.
Yeah. Well, about 20 years ago, you could do that at the women's game.
True that.
But and one thing you were saying when you were talking about the women is all those games they played, those teams, all those teams where you had those short, those little small victories. You got to remember they were playing teams that were basically top 10 or top 5 teams, and they were playing teams with sometimes missing 4 and 5 players. I think this is going to be the first night that the entire team is dressed out now in about 3 weeks. Even though the final one is dressing back out after the COVID thing won't play, but they'll finally have the whole team back together, is what Don said yesterday.
Yeah.
They are, unlike some other teams, didn't cry about when people had to sit out. They just kept on winning. But Corn, one thing I heard you say something yesterday. I didn't get to call in yesterday, but I heard you, and it's not a criticism so much as, a lot of times, Corn, it seems like you take more so the coach's side on these transfer portal things, or the school side on transfer portal things, than the athletes. But you glossed over one. Now, how could you not get on a school or Lincoln Riley when he brings in his former quarterback at Oklahoma, and they have him at the Lakers game, and they show him at this football game and this event, and then all of a sudden their starting quarterback from the last year goes into the portal.
Yeah.
you know that there's some conversations and some easing some people out of the school, so that's where the portal helps. And so I wanted to kind of bring
Hank, you can't run a business this way for long. I don't think you can do it for. Let me ask you this, Hank. The NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, they are always bringing in new players and adding to their roster. Yep. So, I mean, you're going to tell me that an NFL quarterback under contract, which a player supposedly is under contract in college when he signs a scholarship. But anyway, just sticking on the NFL. So an NFL player under contract and his team acquires another quarterback. So now he just is going to say, well, I don't want to compete with this guy. They obviously want him like him. I'm not going to compete. I'm leaving. I'm going to go transfer to the team across town. I mean, you can't do that in the pros. You can retire. You can say, okay, I quit. But because you have a signed contract, and you just can't up and leave on a whim. And that's what college players have, that freedom now. My point is, I'm not blaming them at this point in time. I've accepted it. They've given them the freedom. They have misjudged the market, and they've mistakenly given the college players the freedom. I can't believe when they created the transfer portal, John, that they thought it would lead to this type of transactions. You got over 2,000 players, football players in there. I mean, you can't find a place for all of them.
But Corn, remember this now. I'm gonna get you on that one. You can't compare the NFL to these college teams because no NFL team is going to have five-star quarterbacks on their roster, which means no NFL team is going to have 1 or 2 5-star quarterbacks who are
every quarterback on an NFL team was the best player probably in his conference.
No, but Corn, what I'm saying is most NFL teams have 2 quarterbacks and 1 emergency, right?
Yep.
An NFL team is not going to have an all-star quarterback and then recruit 2 all-star quarterbacks right behind him in the next class and then bring one in. So that's a difference.
Brett Favre,
and the second,
Aaron Rodgers.
2, not 5. Corn.
Well, they're limited. You can only have 52. No, you can only have 48 52 active in a particular game. The colleges, they've got their 85 scholarships. They can have 105, I think it is, for home games or something crazy like that. The pros can have 52 active. You can't have 5 quarterbacks active on a roster. You're going to come up short in other positions. But my point is, the backup, an NFL backup who might not be starting was probably the best player in his league or one of them. Certainly the best player in his high school, in his college. I mean, those aren't schlubs. And the idea of competing and staying in there and trying to win your job has just gone out the window in college. I mean, it really has.
But Corn, Corn. One other thing
Mm-hmm.
about that though. In the NFL, you talk about contracts, right? And these guys on the teams have contracts, right?
That's correct.
Now remember, in college, only certain schools chose to start a couple years ago, giving the 4-year scholarships. Corn, don't act like you don't know about all these coaches that have eased these players out of programs. All of a sudden, players transferring, and if you go back to the hometown paper when he gives the interview, the player was told that he wasn't going to play, so he could stay and sit or leave. You can't do that in the NFL. You can't ease them out of a contract.
Look, I'm not saying that the people that have run college football, from the NCAA through the presidents, through the ADs, through the coaches, have all been angels in how they've handled the players over the years. I mean, they have done some bad things. I'll grant you that. They've done plenty of bad things. But I think that the reaction to all of this from the NCAA standpoint, when they caved on everything and opened up the floodgate, could not have been expected and is not in the best interest overall of the players or the sport. And I mean, eventually, look at your top basketball teams right now. Seriously, only the most ardent of college basketball fans could name you the starting five of each of the top 5 basketball teams in the country, I would say. And that's because they change every year now. Used to be you grew up with your players. You were a fan. They would come into the program. They'd be there 4 or 5 years. You got to know them. You got to know their personalities. You got to know their families. You got to know their girlfriends. You got to know the good and the bad. Now, you don't even get to know the players at all. The good ones, they come and go in just 1 year. Now, is that, but again, the college game that I grew up loving, and thank you, Hank. I hate when you laugh at my comments. As Hank laughs in the background. He noticed that he laughs at everything I say, like that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The college game that I grew up knowing is dead and buried, probably forever, And, my desire is to see it the way it was. And I know that it can't be that way anymore. And I know that it's professional college sports now. And that's why these aren't student athletes. They're professional college athletes who have a chance to go make all the money that they can earn, and I would assume pay taxes on that money. And they have the right now to up and leave at any point in time, at least a one-time free transfer. And then probably, I think if you get to the graduate stage and you want to transfer again for free, I think that rule kicks in. So you actually could get 2 free transfers, I believe. So is that going to be good? As this continues down the road 10 years from now, it might be great for college sports. It might create an entirely new era of high television ratings and fan interest. You can't tell it by watching games today. I mean, you watch college basketball games, the arenas, except in some spots, the arenas are practically, empty, half full, a lot of places. Look at the bowl games and the attendance for those. I mean, even the Clemson game when they played Iowa State in Orlando, upper deck of Camping World Stadium was completely empty. Lower bowl was pretty full. Upper deck was empty. Same thing for South Carolina in its game in Charlotte for the most part. So, I mean, is that the picture that we're going to have to accept moving forward for college sports here in the next generation of this? It looks that way because those are the rules. It doesn't look like people are going to be interested in changing the rules, and you're just going to have to adapt and learn to live with them and learn to like it. I'll learn to adapt to it. I don't think I'll ever like the fact that what are supposed to be students in college, I've always believed the scholarship was a suitable payment for them, to be honest with you. Plus the stipends they were getting, I thought that was more than fair. But the colleges just keep now, because of pressure, they have to do it, because if you're not doing it, you're not going to get the recruits. If you're not participating in the NIL programs, you're not going to get the recruits. If you're not agreeing to the transfer portal and saying it's a great thing for everybody, that's going to be used against you. You cannot say no to anything because of the recruiting pressure that's on you to go along with everything that everybody else is doing. Nobody can stand up and be different. We'll be back in just
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds will clear out this evening. We'll have a low of 37. Tomorrow, sunny skies, a high of 58. While the weekend brings big changes. We're colder Saturday, a high of 53, with clouds turning to freezing rain overnight. Sunday, very wet, some freezing rain, and a chilly high of just 42. And as of now, we're not expecting snow in the Midlands. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hey, who wants to make a resolution they can keep? Let's resolve to eat better pizza. Come on, you can do it with the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Let's start slow with the crust. We'll hand toss that spring water dough just for you. Then add the freshest ingredients and serve it hot. Now, lift it. You're doing it. It's a change of pizza lifestyle. Happy New You from the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Supreme Court stopping a major push by the Biden administration to boost the nation's vaccination rate, a requirement that employees at large businesses get the vaccine or test on a regular basis and wear a mask on the job. At the same time, the court is allowing the administration to proceed with a vaccine mandate for most healthcare workers in the United States. Meanwhile, President Biden says the government plans to double up to 1 billion the rapid at-home COVID test to be distributed free to all Americans. Federal government is moving forward with a plan to allow teenagers to drive big rigs from state to state in a test program. Currently, truckers who cross state lines must be at least 21, but the program required by Congress to help ease backlogs would let 18 to 20-year-olds drive. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hey, Tiger fans, 2022 Clemson baseball season tickets are currently on sale. Coach Monty Lee and your Clemson Tiger baseball team open the season on February 18th, and you can be there for every game by purchasing your season tickets. Home series include matchups against Miami, Florida State, NC State, Georgia Tech, as well as our annual home games against South Carolina and Georgia, and many more. So log on to ClemsonTigers.com to purchase your Clemson baseball tickets and come back home to Clemson.
There's something special about a lasting relationship. You know, I started off as a customer of Stone Interiors almost 15 years ago. Well, that relationship grew, and they've been a partner now of The Point since we launched more than 8 years ago. Relationships matter. People matter. Local matters. Stone Interiors is all about being local, all about customer service, and all about building a great relationship with their customers. I'm proud to call the folks over there my friends. That's all well and good. But what about their granite? What about their marble? What about their craftsmanship? I know all about this as their customer. It is elite. They're the best at what they do. They have the largest selection of granite anywhere to choose from. They have the top team to do the installation. So if you've been considering new countertops, a kitchen backsplash, that bathroom remodel, or even an amazing outdoor kitchen, treat yourself right. Call Stone Interiors. Nobody does it better. You'll brag about them the same way I do. Check out their website, stoneinteriors.com, or give them a call, 461-8950. That's 461-8950. Remember, relationships matter. I know you'll enjoy working with Stone Interiors.
We are back with you here on Sports Talk. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And see if anything else here to tell you before we get back to your phone calls, 888-898-2525. I was just going to say one more thought about what we were talking about in today's era of how the college sports will be run. And, you know, the colleges, the schools, they can just sit back and just say, hey, it's not our deal, because they don't have to pay the players. They're leaving it up to you, the fan, to pay the players. And you apparently want to do that. And you know what? That's just great. You know, if you want to spend your money directly, legally on the players, I think some of you probably been doing it under the table, if you know what I mean. Now you can do it above board and feel good about it. And you can have players come to your business. You can just pay them directly. You can buy their clothing line, whatever the case may be, whatever it is they come up with. The fans can put the money in their pockets, and the schools don't have to do that now. So think about that. I wonder if they still are going to be offering now the stipends from the NCAA that they've been given to the players for every semester. Is that still part of the deal? Of course, not every player is going to get some lucrative NIL contract. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned to you when we discussed this last week, I saw a story that said the average NIL deal is only $250. So I don't know. Not like you're going to break the bank. Quarterbacks, obviously the skill position players are going to do well. Quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, defensive ends can probably do pretty well. They're flamboyant type. The guys that get the sacks, maybe some of your defensive backs, your more noticeable safeties will probably cash in. They turn interceptions into dollars. I feel bad for your nose tackles. You know, I feel bad for your left guards. Maybe some of your offensive tackles might get some money. But it's going to be a limited deal. And then you wonder about how the players are going to feel about it, because football's become so quarterback centric, and coaches like to preach that you know, it takes 11 to win. All 11 doing their job. Oh, really? Does it really take all 11 doing their job at the same time? Well, then why aren't all 11 recognized evenly? You know, it's the quarterback, doing his job the best. I know if the tackle doesn't make his block, the quarterback's going to get creamed, unless the quarterback can run away from the pressure and create a play. Now, my point is, it's true what you're saying, Coach, but people don't recognize it, and the people with the money don't recognize it, and the people who want to spend the money, they want to spend it with the glamour guys, and that's the guys who touch the football. You know, that's just the way it is. So learn to live with it. It's going to be the way of the college world, with a 64-team playoff field here in about 15 years. We'll have a 64-team field, teams that are, if you have a losing record but a high APR, you can get in the NCAA football playoff in about 15 years, because they're going to need you to fill out the field, probably. We go back to your phone calls, 888-898-2525, as we go next to give me a second. We go next to Keith. Keith in Camden. Keith, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing fine. Good to have you with us.
Good. Good to be with you. I don't know if we're close to the same age, but I think I figured out why I listen to y'all show every night. We think alike. I like the old school, and having tickets in Columbia for 36 years, and 5 years I walked away from it. It's just not going in a good direction, but that's not what I called about. You recall when Dawn came here, I've kind of shifted to where most of my time I watch the ladies basketball team. She's been here 11 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You recall when she, and I won't name the young girl's name, but first year was a little rough, and then she brought in the number one player out of Texas. Let her stay in town for a couple of months, had a problem with her and sent her packing.
Her name was, you talking about Bone, B-O-N-E?
Yeah, I just wasn't going to say the name.
Yeah. She transferred back to, I think she went back to Baylor or someplace in Texas.
Baylor, yeah. But she sent her packing because she was a problem. But if you look at the way she's run that program the last 10 years, you look at all the kids that come in, and I know it's different from men, but there's continuity. You know the kids that are there year in, year out, and I'm telling you, it's just a pleasure. It's stayed intact, and I know it's different from men's sport, but it'd be interesting to know what viewing audience on TV that they conquer versus the men. I mean, I've about gotten to where I just don't even look at it because it's the same old stuff. But just a great job that she's done. And
well, the winning, look,
girls,
the
winning too.
The winning over there is really good. But to be quite honest, I mean, the women's basketball, even at the highest level of your Gamecocks, Tennessee, UConn, I mean, some of it is good basketball. There's a lot of ugly basketball in women's basketball too. I mean, look, let's just be honest. There's a lot of ugly playing, a lot of missed layups, a lot of turnovers, poor ball handling, poor dribbling skills. This is even at the highest level you see it. But South Carolina is the best right now at overcoming that and playing at the highest level the girls can play at right now. As I think about, however, it's pretty amazing. There might not be any more amazing development in the sports world when you think about it, Keith, over the last, what are we in? We're 2020. Let's say over the last 50 years, since 1970. I mean, I can remember girls basketball around here when they used to play with the Rover. They didn't want all 5 girls going up and down the court. They thought it was too strenuous. So you had 2 on one end, 3 on the other, and one player would be the Rover that would go back and forth. They were trying to, they didn't think the ladies could do it, And so I think about where girls basketball was then and where women's basketball is today. It's really one of the great transformations in any sport in terms of the skill level and the athleticism of the people involved. Would you agree with that?
I agree totally. But the great thing is being able to name the people on the team, and they're there. And it's just different on football, men's football, basketball, baseball. I mean, it's just, it's changed. It's not like it was when we grew up in the 70s. And I understand it's not going to be, but I don't think it's heading in a good direction, but there's nothing we can do about it.
Well,
and that's the reason people are not buying tickets like they used to.
Well, you got some kids who really, they're on their 4th school, 5th school in some cases. Spencer Rattler is going to come into South Carolina and probably do great. I see no reason why he won't do great. And is he going to get a degree from South Carolina? Is he going to be a Gamecock? Is that going to be somebody that you're going to, look back at and claim to be a great Gamecock? I mean, just because you play 1 year, he actually would have been at Oklahoma. He was at Oklahoma for 3 years. He's got more Oklahoma in him than he does South Carolina. But maybe he'll claim South Carolina as his. It's sort of like I think about the coaches that South Carolina has gone through, and it's a little bit unfortunate. I mean, look, as much as Gamecock fans love Steve Spurrier for what he did, not for how it ended.
I don't even want to talk about
but he associates with Florida. Always has, always will, and that's where he went back to. Lou Holtz will associate with Notre Dame. Always has, always will. Those are basically rent-a-coaches, even though Spurrier did stay long enough to actually build a program over 10-plus years. I give him credit for staying long enough. So when you get into renting players, which is basically what you're doing for 1 year with a player like Spencer Rattler, does it even matter if you claim him as your own or he claims to be whatever he'll claim to be down the road? Would he claim to be a Gamecock or a Sooner, when he gets to the NFL? We'll see him on Monday Night Football. He'll be the starting quarterback for the Jets, and he'll say, Spencer Rattler, quarterback, Oklahoma. I mean, even though he played in South Carolina. Or, whatever. You see what I'm saying? Who knows? And if that's not important to people, then it's just not important to people. It's probably not important. So, well, listen, thank you very much.
I love the show and appreciate you holding to those old values. Y'all have a good evening.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I mean, look, I'm not going to – I think people who listen to the show know us well enough that we're not going to fake anything here. And I know – especially among the younger crowd. And I admit it probably drives younger listeners away from the show sometimes, that I don't openly accept and agree with what's happening in today's sports world, especially on the college scene. I'm powerless to do anything about it. I can only talk about it. And I'm trying not to complain about it as much as I did when it was all happening, because I've kind of come to terms. It's sort of like a death, the death of the way college sports was, and now the way it is moving forward in a new form, in a new body. You have to kind of accept it if you want to be around it and try to enjoy it. So I do want to be around it, and I do want to enjoy it, and I kind of accept the way it is. And, but I will point out the ugliness of it as I see it. I can't hold my tongue when it comes to that. Thanks for your phone call. We got to hit a break. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We will continue with your phone calls on the other side. A reminder, if you lose us tonight at the top of the hour, we remind you that we stream our show on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and our audio stream. You should just jump right in on our website, sportstalksc.com. Hit the link that says listen to Sports Talk Stream. You can pick us up loud and clear. You won't miss a beat, and we'll be back.
The Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology, known as SIMT, is ready to meet your 3D printing, machining, and social media listening needs. Our list of clients includes business and industrial partners from around the state, the nation, and the globe. In addition, we are providing social media listening services to a variety of businesses and educational institutions, from large companies to law firms to small rural school districts. The SIMT also rents space for training, conferences, and trade shows. Catering services are available for events being held at the SIMT. We are dedicated to customer service and look forward to serving you. Check us out on the web at simt.com to see a full list of our manufacturing services, or give us a call at 843-413-2740.
All of us love sports, but not all sports are created equal. College sports have big budgets, dedicated alumni networks, and corporate sponsorships. Professional sports have even deeper pockets, millionaire owners, lucrative TV and radio deals, and merchandise sales. High school sports have you. Everyone agrees high school sports give us plenty of reasons to cheer. And now's a great time for us to give back. Supporting your hometown high school won't cost you much.
but it will go a long way to ensuring the games we love the most are here to stay. South Carolina high school sports. They're good for our kids, good for our community, and best of all, they're good for you.
This message presented by the South Carolina High School League and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
I learned that people are just looking for somebody to listen to them. You can't just start cutting somebody's hair and you're going to be quiet the whole time because you're not going to be in business long.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has provided over $800 million to help students attend technical colleges across our state, investing in a new generation of entrepreneurs, just like James. Your passion is our purpose.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk here on a Thursday night. 888-898-2525. Recruiting is coming up. Update the basketball since Coastal and Appalachian are underway up in Boone, and Appalachian has the early 19-16 lead midway point of the first half there. Got some recruiting coming your way shortly. Stay tuned for that. Mike Morgan after the top of the hour break. New coach from Presbyterian at 7:30. Steve Englehart will be with us as well. Tomorrow night, coverage of what Shane Beamer has to say during his Zoom session with the media tomorrow. That'll come after the Board of Trustees approves the contract for Sterling Lucas to be the Gamecocks' new defensive ends coach. Let's go to Jamie in Hilton Head. Hello, Jamie. Good to have you with us tonight. Appreciate you taking time away from the beautiful island to join us.
Hey, Phil. How you doing?
Great.
Good, good. Listen, I've got a couple of questions, and I got a comment. You talked about Steve Spurrier associating with Florida, and that's true. But I will tell you that he said in his book that the job that he's most proud of is the job he did at South Carolina. So he does. I mean, he does count. He is proud of his time there.
Now, which book is that? Is that the one his buddy in Florida wrote, or the one that was written that he blasted? That was written about him by there were two books written about him.
Well, no, I don't know which one it was, but I did the audio book, and he was narrating this one himself.
Oh, okay. Really?
So-
Steve Spurrier
so it-
narrated a book?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool.
He sure did.
Yeah,
And he said he was proud of the job, most proud of the job he did at South Carolina, most proud of the accomplishments that he had at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Because he said that y'all had never won the SEC East and things like that. He said you have to keep in mind this is South Carolina.
Yeah.
You know, so he got his Spurrier jab in, but still he just. But anyway, here's my question, and I'm talking about Clemson. I'm talking about South Carolina and all of the other small. How are we going to compete with the era of NIL? I mean, we can't compete when somebody out in Texas is giving these linemen $5,000 or $50,000 to come play for the University of Texas. And I mean, so what's got to happen is the transfer portal has got to change. They got to do something with the portal, John, as you call it, because people say, well, I'll just transfer. I've got another year. Or, I mean, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, there's two questions you're posing there. You're posing one about NIL, and you're posing one about the transfer portal, John. So,
right.
As far as the NIL goes, you're right. It is going to become competitive with who can provide or can tell the player how much money they can make. And as I pointed out earlier this week, you now have a recruiting network On3 Sport. What do they call it? On3.com. That is
something like that.
Assigning, they are putting a dollar figure by high school players' names and college players' names by saying this player is now worth this much in his NIL, whatever formula they're using to come to that. So now people are going to look at that, and the player's going to look at that, and his family's going to look at that, and they're going to go to the school and say, hey,
Right.
but my value is at 1.6 million. In fact, I saw one today that said Arch Manning, quarterback out of New Orleans. Yeah, the same website put his NIL figure at 1.6 million as a high school
Yeah,
senior. So now the
and that's
school can
sad.
say
That's
the school can
that's
say
that's
this.
sad.
The school will say this. I mean, as a coach, of course, you're not supposed to use NIL in recruiting, but you can.
But come on,
You will
come
say,
on.
look, we can't. The schools aren't paying the money. That'll be up to the boosters and our supporters. And believe me, we've got supporters who come to the table and make sure you get paid. And then you have to go as a school or as a coach. You're going to have to go to your boosters. Could you see Dabo Sweeney going to IPTAY boosters and saying, hey, you guys got to come up with the money. Let's say Clemson gets Arch Manning. You guys got to come up with the money to, if he says he's worth 1.6, you better come up with the money somehow, some way. Or then you will see him go into the transfer portal, John, to somewhere else, like a Texas, like a Southern Cal.
It's my understanding that just a regular booster can't do anything. You have to set it up through a business or something like that. Myself, I'm a booster, but I don't have any business. So
well, I mean, you could, the way I understand it, if you wanted to call Arch Manning, let's say Arch Manning's at Clemson and you're a Clemson booster and you wanted Arch Manning to come speak at your church and you say, Arch, if you come speak at our church, once a month, we'll pay you $10,000 a speech or whatever. You can set that up. There really, as I understand it, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, there are no limitations on what you can do. The only limitation that I've seen is that, you're not supposed to, as a school, as a coach, use it for recruiting purposes, but you, the booster, really, you have no limitations. I mean, Gamecock Central has set up a way for Gamecock fans to send them money to give to the players. They're kind of the middleman in their deal. They take a little bit off the top. They're going to pad their wallets. Hey, it's America. What do you think? But they've got Gamecock fans funneling them money, and then they go to the player and say, hey, if you'll do an interview with us, we'll pay you. I don't know what they're paying them, $500, $1,000, $2,000. We'll pay you this amount of money to do an interview with us. And they supposedly
just
pay
like
them.
Just like Joyner got the ambassador to the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Right.
Okay, $5,000. I have no problem at all with that. I mean, because if you break that down, that's less than $100 a week. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I have no problem at all with that. But where I'm having a problem is, like I said, these linemen out in Texas getting $50,000 to come play football. I mean,
but how are you going to? You can't. That's the way of the world now. That is what they have created. You can't stop it. And when you, Clemson, or you, South Carolina, start losing players that you might otherwise get, but you start losing them because you can't match them in the NIL category. I tell you, when it'll hit home, when Notre Dame, Alabama, the power brokers, Georgia, if and when they start losing players to other schools because of an NIL deal, then you might see some change coming. But right now, that's going to be the big part of the whole recruiting campaign now is what can I make through NILs at your school? And if you can't promise me whatever number I think I'm worth, I'm going to go somewhere else. I mean, what else is going to be driving recruiting now? It's going to be the driving force. It's not going to be academics. It's not even, is it going to be playing time? Is it going to be what kind of soft serve ice cream you have, at your cafeteria? The things that used to drive decisions are going out the window now. Believe me, because NIL is going to be the dominant player, and it is because now you've got a major recruiting network that is making it front and center as part of the profiles of the kids that they work with. So it is. And you got companies that are popping up all over the country whose sole purpose is to work with the schools to try to help them make NIL deals. It's going to be the driving force.
Hey, Corn, real fast. Cade Klubnik, he left Texas and came to South Carolina to go to Clemson. Don't you think he could have been offered more money to stay in the state of Texas?
Well, he committed to Clemson before all this happened. before the NIL thing actually came into place, he was already committed to Clemson. He committed to Clemson back as a junior, I think, after his junior year. Well, no, after his sophomore year. But I hear what you're saying. He could obviously have broken it. Don't you think he expects to come to Clemson and have some NIL deals?
Absolutely. He's looking at DJ Youngaloe and Dr. Pepper as an example.
Well, what did Youngaloe get, $1 million?
Something like that.
Yeah. All right, be back in a moment.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Supreme Court has blocked President Biden's vaccine or test mandate for employers.
In a 6-3 ruling, the High Court has temporarily blocked the administration's vaccine or test mandate. In a separate 5-4 decision, justices upheld a vaccine-only mandate for healthcare workers. The temporary hold on the OSHA vaccine or test requirement blocks the mandate from taking effect while other legal challengers are allowed to run their course. Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh joined the court's 3 liberal justices in upholding the healthcare worker mandate. Bob Agnew reporting.
Federal government moving forward with an idea to let teenagers drive semis from state to state in a test program. Currently, truckers who cross state lines must be at least 21 or over. Also at townhall.com, Russia warning it could deploy troops to Cuba or Venezuela if tensions with the U.S. mount.
Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov told Russian media that he couldn't exclude the possibility of Russian military deployment in Cuba and Venezuela. Ryabkov led the Russian delegation in recent negotiations in Geneva. The talks failed to find a solution to Moscow's security demands amid a build-up of Russian troops near Ukraine. Ryabkov said that Russian President Vladimir Putin had warned military technical measures would be taken if the U.S. increased pressure on Russia. I'm Karen Chamas.
Microsoft says it will review policies regarding sexual harassment and gender discrimination and publicly release the results of those investigations into allegations involving members of the board of directors, and a spokesman says also senior leadership, including Bill Gates. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
Cultural Marxism is spreading like wildfire in America. But did you know that this so-called woke ideology is also flooding into the church?
Reparations fits into the scope of the gospel.
Watch the documentary, How the Left is Stealing Your Church, and discover how the ideology behind critical race theory and the LGBT agenda is being smuggled into the evangelical world. Stream it now for $9.99 or get the DVD for $12.99. Go to salemnow.com or look for the Salem Now app.
Well, the state of Wyoming is asking the Fed to remove grizzly bears in and around Yellowstone National Park for protection under the Endangered Species Act.
Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon says the declaration dates back to 1975, and grizzlies at Yellowstone now can no longer be considered endangered.
Population is over target in terms of viable populations, nearly 3 times.
If the request is approved, the bears could be hunted.
One of the problems with bears come into contact with humans. Sometimes it's not particularly good for humans. Often it's not particularly good for bears.
The Yellowstone region spans Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. I'm Ed Donahue.
On Wall Street today, Dow Industrials losing 176 points. NASDAQ for the day dropped 381. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds will clear out this evening. We'll have a low of 37. Tomorrow, sunny skies, a high of 58. While the weekend brings big changes. We're colder Saturday, a high of 53, with clouds turning to freezing rain overnight. Sunday, very wet, some freezing rain, and a chilly high of just 42. And as of now, we're not expecting snow in the Midlands. I'm Kevin Cohen with your on-point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, I like when you press that one.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Good to have you here on a Thursday night edition of Sports Talk across the state on the Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut and Pat Daniel from our studios in downtown Columbia. Chris Bergen right now is calling a basketball game up in Boone, North Carolina. He's got Coastal Carolina and Appalachian. It's a Sun Belt Conference tilt, and the Mountaineers leading 34-29 with 3:53 to go in the opening half. To tip off here in a little bit, Winthrop and Asheville and the Citadel and Greensboro just underway. Greensboro out to a 5-2 lead on the Bulldogs playing down in Charleston. Time to welcome in Mike Morgan, another edition of Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk. Mike coming off a thriller last night. Boy, I'm glad you're able to stay home and call that game between Missouri and Arkansas. I watched you guys quite a bit, and my God, of course, Arkansas was due for a great game at home and get a win on the SEC side of things.
Yeah, have you ever heard of the term caged animal syndrome? I think that's what Arkansas had. You know, they were in the top 10 a month ago, and then they just ran into, I don't want to say bad luck. Obviously, it was their play on the floor more than luck, but they couldn't find a way to win a conference game. And they had a tough schedule, and they went 0-3. And everybody wanted to know what's wrong with Arkansas. So then Missouri, fresh off a win over Alabama in an upset, they come into Fayetteville thinking, okay, we feel good about ourselves. And that game was over really 5-10 minutes in. I mean, I know there's always the potential for large comebacks in basketball, but you weren't beating Arkansas on that night. And Coach Musselman's group was just too good, and Conzo Martin's group was just overmatched.
Yeah, I could tell by the way you guys were calling it that you'd already pretty much given up on the idea of any kind of a major comeback. What was it? It was 40-something to 15 at halftime, wasn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes you can just see it too. You can tell the way a game is unfolding. You can look at the body language, and you just know this is not turning around. So I'm not one for trying to distort reality and give you cliches on, hey, it's not over yet. I mean, it was just about. And so at that point, you know, the good thing about TV in particular is that you can go on to other things and tell other stories and still try to keep reasons for people to stay tuned, which thank you. Apparently you did, and give you some stories and some other things out there, because the action on the floor was obviously quite lopsided.
Well, to be honest with you, I was waiting for the Clemson Notre Dame game to end. So
that's fine. That's okay.
I had to keep my mind occupied. Game of the year, maybe. Well, there's been a lot of games played. I guess it's easy to say game of the year. But that Auburn-Alabama game the other night was fantastic. Don't know how tuned in you were to that. That little point guard for Auburn, did you see? I thought it might have been the move of the year. Here I go again. The move he made where he dribbled between his legs, split two defenders, drove into the lane, kind of went under the basket, put it up with his left hand. Remember that move I'm talking about?
I do. I also remember the 35-foot three-point shot that he hit.
That followed. That was the next time down the floor. He made that move.
Yeah.
Defense, down the floor, he hit a 35-footer. An incredible 60 seconds for that young man.
Yeah, Bruce has had an incredible knack to recruit undersized guards that excel. And Wendell Green is the player you're talking about. Jabari Smith is the guy that I think might be the number one pick in the NBA draft. So you got him. I mean, he's a 6'10" guy with skill. He's like Ben Simmons that could actually shoot. And then Carter, the guy you're talking about, remember you had Sharif Cooper last year, and he always seems to have that 5'11" point guard that a lot of other schools might shy away from, or people say he's not big enough. And Bruce gets them, and they're one of the best players in the SEC. And that's the next guy right there. I mean, he is going to be fun to watch all year long. Wendell Green is. I've got Auburn quite a few times coming up later on in the season, and it's going to be a fun environment. I don't know if there is a more talented team, top to bottom, than Auburn this year. I didn't even see what the new poll. Well, the new poll will come out, I guess, Monday, and they'll have a chance at number one. But they're stacked this year. They really are.
Yeah. Is it okay to like Bruce Pearl again if you're a college basketball fan, considering what has happened in his career from a cheating standpoint? I think there's some people, and I'm not talking about Alabama fans or anybody in the SEC who's a rival, but I mean, there are people who are always going to associate him as a cheater from those episodes at Tennessee, and I guess at Auburn as well. Can he outlive that? Can he outwin that?
I don't know if he really cares, to be honest with you. I mean, Auburn fans love him. That's all that really matters for Bruce, and Auburn pays his paycheck, obviously. So, I think for a while maybe he was vilified by the national media, but he did his penance, if you will. He was out of coaching for 3 years. In fact, he did some work on the SEC network or ESPNU, whichever it was at the time. And then had to work his way back. And if you remember, when he took over the Auburn job, Auburn was the doormat of the SEC. Auburn was a job that you just couldn't win at. The previous successors couldn't do it. And they had the longest drought. People talked about the Gamecock drought in the tournament before the Final Four. Well, the longest drought wasn't even South Carolina's. It was Auburn's. They hadn't been to a tournament since 2003. And quite frankly, they hadn't been to many before that. So you got to go back to Sonny Smith and those Charles Barkley, Chuck Person, Wesley Person days. So I don't know if people like Bruce or don't like Bruce. All I know is this: he can flat out coach. And what he's done with that program has been as good a resurrection as we've seen in the SEC over the last decade.
Visiting with Mike Morgan. I guess if you can accept Calipari, you can accept Pearl. Now, the SEC.
Well, look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Okay. With NIL, you hear coaches joking about it. This is the kind of stuff that's been going on anyway.
Right.
I mean, we all like to think that we know who the cheaters are, and everybody is this sanctimonious, play by the rules guy. And I kind of chuckle at that. I really do, because there's been stuff like that going on forever, for a long time. And I do resent the notion that all the coaches that aren't winning, it's because they don't cheat, and all the coaches that are winning is because they do cheat. That's a crutch for a lot of coaches that are not having success in college football and college basketball, but I don't think that's the number one reason why they're not having success.
Mike Morgan on the move. 5 SEC teams in the top 22 of the net rankings this week. LSU, number 4, Auburn 6, Tennessee 11, Kentucky 16, Alabama 22, and I could go on others, but that's pretty strong showing by a football league.
Very strong. And I told you this before the season started. This was going to be as deep an SEC as we've seen maybe in our lifetime. I mean, it's always been good at the top with Kentucky and Florida and maybe one other team here and there. But it's never been 1 through 8, 1 through 9 this strong. And you just mentioned 5 or 6 teams right there that all have a chance to not just go to the tournament. They'll be in the tournament. They all have a chance to make it to the next weekend, the Sweet 16. And I don't think I've ever said that before about this league. So that's the difference. It's been the commitment. It's been the financial commitment, the coaching commitment, the fact that every game is televised. That doesn't hurt in terms of recruiting. The ESPN Top 100, the SEC has one more recruit than the ACC for the most Top 100 recruits. You never would have said that 5-10 years ago. They're just getting better players, and that better players, better coaches equals better results.
And, that's all the college sports world needs is for the SEC to dominate in basketball, because they've already got the market cornered on football and baseball. And, they always had the ACC to bail out college basketball because ACC was the primo league, and now they look like a weak league. And here comes the SEC now. I mean, this is crazy. And the SEC still doesn't promote its basketball like it does its football, but they're doing a better job. And it probably goes back to getting, like you like to call out Nate Oates, for example, and like him or hate him, what Will Wade's done at LSU is pretty remarkable. What's happening at Auburn, Kentucky's Kentucky, et cetera. But, I mean, it's the coaches now up and down the league that are certainly making a big difference.
Yeah, and, I really think football and basketball kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways. I mean, this. I know the football calendar has changed somewhat for recruiting with the early period, but how often does a football player, a prospect, come to campus and go to a basketball game? How often does a basketball prospect come to campus and go to a football game? Happens a lot, right? And so I think the two have worked simpatico with one another and have kind of helped one another. I don't know who's saying the SEC is not promoting itself. I mean, the SEC basketball, every coach will tell you since the dawn of the SEC network, it's major publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're getting more pub than you ever got in being an SEC basketball coach. So I don't know what more you can do. You can put flyers on every car, next to the takeout Chinese menu. But I mean, other than that, it's like everybody knows SEC basketball is on. We promote the heck out of it. You do your job promoting the local teams. Like there's not much else you can do.
Yeah. I don't know why they're going to have the tournament down in Tampa this year. I know they want to move it around here and there, but I mean, Tampa? Really?
I know. I was there doing Gamecock games the last time it was in Tampa. That would have been 2009, and it definitely feels different. I mean, Nashville's the best place for it. It really is. I remember doing tournaments when it was in Atlanta, and obviously I can appreciate Atlanta. I live in Atlanta for the time being, but for me, Nashville. That's always been the best venue, will continue to be the best venue, and I think it's going to be there for the foreseeable future. I don't think you'll see it in Tampa again anytime soon.
Sure.
Mike Morgan joining us here on Sports Talk. And Mike, Corn, both of you, a minute ago, y'all were discussing the great game earlier this week between Auburn and Alabama. And correct me if y'all know otherwise, but I personally can't remember ever seeing Toomer's Corner at Auburn being rolled after a basketball game like it was 2 nights ago. ESPN had very broad coverage on that by the Auburn faithful. Now, it'll never be the Iron Bowl, but basketball is finally becoming a must-see event in the state of Alabama, in particular when these two teams meet up. And that's in large part thanks to Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates. My question is, and I ask this partly out of jealousy, if I'm being honest, but what will it take for us to have that here in South Carolina between the Gamecocks and the Tigers? Is that something we can hope for? And just how do we match that here in our state?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer to that is you got to have two winning teams. I mean, I've done some Auburn, Alabama games where there were 4,500 people in the stands and nobody cared.
Right.
So what's the difference? Now they're two top 20 programs. Now they're, semi-regulars in the NCAA tournament. They're both going to be in the tournament this year. And, oh, by the way, they're in the same conference, so they play twice in the conference season. That also helps. But, for Carolina Clemson to be that kind of game, you've got to have two nationally ranked type programs. It always seems like, too, when Carolina has a good year. Clemson's down. When Clemson has a good year, Carolina's down. It always seems like those two have not been on the same page. You got to go back to Rick Barnes, Eddie Fogler. I remember there was a time when they were both in like the top 10, and I don't think we've seen anything even close to that since then.
Well, we had the back-to-back years when the Gamecocks went to the Final Four. The next year, Clemson went to the Elite Eight. So we had back-to-back fantastic years, just not together.
But
I hear
not
what
the
you're
same
saying.
year.
Yeah.
But that winning solves a whole lot of issues, doesn't it? I mean, it just does. It's the ultimate Band-Aid for everything.
No question about it. All right, one more thing, we'll let you go. You've got Alabama, Mississippi State this weekend. Florida is coming to Columbia. Florida, a struggling crew down there. You're starting to wonder about Mike White and what could happen with him at Florida. They're coming off a loss. Florida does play really good defense. They are among the nation's best at turning you over and steals and defending the three. And South Carolina is among the worst at holding on to the basketball. And also Gamecocks are fouling like, part of the game is hacking on somebody. So anyway, what kind of matchup do you expect here between the Gamecocks and the Gators?
Low scoring. You mentioned the defense. I don't know if either team right now is hitting its stride offensively. Florida's certainly going to be playing better defense than Vanderbilt did a week ago. And we know Frank's teams typically get out there and defend well. I'll tell you what, Frank's had great success against Mike White. I called the upset win against Florida last year, I think in Gainesville. And it seems like every year South Carolina pulls off an upset over Florida in basketball. So if you believe in trends, Frank has had Mike's number a little bit in that series. But, much like Arkansas, Florida comes in, caged animal syndrome. They got to get a win. 0-3. They haven't been 0-3 since 1981. Norm Sloan was the coach in 1981. That's another team that Florida in November, December, they beat Florida State. They beat Ohio State. Everything was looking good. And then they have run into a major bump in the road. They got to get it fixed. And for Carolina, it'd be a huge win at home if you can pick it up.
Yeah, Florida hasn't won a game this calendar year. They had a game postponed against Ole Miss. Well, that was December 29th. They've lost all 3 games in January. If they lose to the Gamecocks, they would have gone halfway through the month of January without a win. So is he under some heat down there in Gainesville?
I think every coach this year, if you don't get to the tournament, now see the thing, here's where expectations are different, right? I mean, there are certain programs, if you get to the tournament, you're good. If you get to the tournament 3 years in a row, you're really good. Mike White's gotten there 3 years in a row, and he's won a game each time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of schools, you wouldn't even think about that. But when you follow Billy Donovan, who won 2 titles and went to 4 Final Fours, it's a different expectation level there. So I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that the fans there are very restless because they expect to get back to the prominence they had when Billy Donovan was the coach. And I don't know how fair that is because Billy Donovan's a Hall of Fame coach. It's pretty hard to follow that.
He's doing a great job with the Bulls this year. After the Magic thing didn't, it finally came to an end. We leave you with the update from over at the Colonial Life Arena, the USC women, after a quarter leading Texas A&M 17-10. And for the Gamecocks, you can imagine that Boston is leading the way. She's got 8 and 5 in the first quarter. And I said the other night, when they win another national championship, which they will, and she becomes National Player of the Year, which she will, they're going to have to erect another statue out there in front of the CLA.
I would not be surprised if that's the case. Once you get into 2 title territory, that's pretty elite. Not to mention 3 Final Fours.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. That's right. But I'm talking about this individual too. I mean, she is Aaliyah Boston.
Oh, you're talking about Boston?
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Yeah,
well, you know that Dawn. When are they going to name the court after Dawn? Or even the arena? I mean, think about it. Tennessee did it right. Tennessee's court is named for Pat Summitt.
Yeah, well, now Pat did win about a half a dozen of those national titles.
Yeah.
And transcended the women's sport as a whole. So, yeah, she's kind of in a category. Her and Gino are in a category by themselves.
You don't think Dawn's in that category?
Do I think she's in the same category as Gino Auriemma and Pat Summitt?
Correct. That's the question.
Is that supposed to be a controversial targeted question?
That is a question.
You said that like we were on Crossfire.
No, I'm asking you a question as an SEC national basketball commentator, analysis expert, play-by-play.
But you know the answer to that question. You asked that question as if that was a controversial. So you're asking if a coach that's won one national title is in the same category as one that's won 10? Ask yourself if that was really the right question.
But who's winning now? Gino is knocking on her door, not the other way around.
What? I have no idea where you're going with this. I love Dawn Staley. I think she's done a remarkable job. I think Gino Auriemma and Pat Summitt are clearly the best that I've ever done it. Now, when you want to have this conversation 10 years from now, and there's more national titles in the trophy case for Dawn Staley, and there probably will be, well, then now you have an interesting question. But as for right now, it's like saying the college football. That's like saying Kirby Smart. Are you not saying Kirby Smart is the same as Nick Saban? Well, one has won 7 national titles and one has won 1. Like, come on, Phil.
I'm just saying,
goodness gracious.
Look, Dawn has been to what? She's been to 3 Final Fours, right? Won a national championship, coached her team to the Olympic gold medal, and she's won gold medals as a player.
She's a Hall of Famer.
She's won
there's no
how
question.
many straight SEC tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. In the here and now, you cannot talk about women's basketball today and not include Dawn Staley when you talk about Gino and Pat. Got to be in the same conversation.
Obviously Pat Summitt's in a different conversation. She's no longer with us and was retired for how many years. So I don't know where you're going with this, but I think Dawn Staley is clearly at the forefront of today's coaches in women's college basketball. I will repeat that.
Okay. How do you feel about Pete Thamel moving to ESPN to become like the deep insider for college sports like they have for the NFL?
I think Pete does good work. I in terms of information, I was a big Brett McMurphy fan for a long time, and Brett's no longer with the company and is doing stuff for somebody else now. But I think Pete Thamel what has he been working for? Yahoo, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't, honestly, other than running fantasy leagues, I never go to Yahoo, so I don't know. Like Pete Thamel's the only reason why I'd ever read anything on Yahoo.
Yeah.
So it's a good get. He's an excellent reporter. He'll break a lot of stories. I think you have to have that in the current climate of college football, because literally now, and this is great for people like yourself and people that are writing for websites and need content. College football is a 12-month-a-year sport. It's just like the NFL. The NFL made a decision a long time ago that they were no longer going to just depend on the fall. They were going to stretch out the draft. They were going to stretch out free agency. They were going to make sure that you are talking NFL for 12 months out of the year. And we do, if you're an NFL fan.
Yeah.
Well, college football is now on that course where we're not just talking about the season. We're talking about spring football. We're talking about recruiting. We're talking about transfer portal. We're talking about NIL and on and on and on and on. So you need people to cover all these stories, not just for 4 months out of the year, but for 12 months.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They have positioned themselves to do just that, and there's more to come, I'm sure, as things continue to evolve. Mike, enjoy your weekend calling basketball. Will you be back at the home studio, or will you be at the court somewhere?
Yeah, I'll be back at the home studio for this one, but then I go on the road for back-to-back games next week, Kentucky at A&M, and I'll be at Alabama as they play someone on the 22nd. I'll have to look that up. But, yeah, back-to-back road trips next week.
All right, sir. You enjoy. Thank you, as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you very much. Mike Morgan on the move. And just to help Mike out, on the 22nd, it's Kentucky at Auburn, if that's the game he's thinking about. He said the 22nd, right? January 22nd. Kentucky is at Auburn on January 22nd.
Oh, didn't he say it was an Alabama game on the 22nd though? Because they play against Missouri that night. So one of those two games, it sounds like.
Okay. Well, thank you to Mike for an extended edition of Morgan on the Move tonight. Meantime, over at CLA, 7:41 to go in the half. USC on top of A&M, 20-16. A&M shooting 40%. The Gamecocks 33%. And the Gamecocks, they're not a good three-point shooting team. They're only 1 of 6. But, of course, they're doing the job inside, outscoring the Aggies 12-4 in the paint. And we'll be back.
Worn out from wall-to-wall political talk? Instead of hearing more about the stuff in Washington that's mostly out of your control, I'll give you the tools to actually take control of your money and your life. Dave Ramsey here. Join me right here on The Point. I'm live and taking your calls weekdays at 2 p.m. I'll teach you how to get on a written plan that actually works, get out of debt, and build wealth. Weekdays at 2 p.m. The Dave Ramsey Show at 100.7 The Point.
A well-regulated humidor being necessary to the preservation of a cigar, the right of the people to keep and enjoy cigars shall not be infringed. For those who love a great cigar and want to spend time with others who are like-minded, the Cigar Militia offers the experience you're looking for. We're located in the Colonial Village next to the Melting Pot. The Cigar Militia offers exceptional cigars from around the world, staff to assist you in your selections, private cigar lockers, and a lounge where members can relax and enjoy.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Well, the much-anticipated ruling from the High Court has been handed down today. Supreme Court has stopped a major push by the Biden administration to boost the nation's vaccination rate, a requirement that employees at large businesses get a vaccine or test on a regular basis and wear a mask on the job. At the same time, the court is allowing the administration to proceed with a vaccine mandate for most healthcare workers in America. 2 brand new COVID pills that were supposed to be an important weapon against the pandemic are in short supply and have played a very small role in the fight against Omicron. The problem is the production is not yet up to full strength, and the pills considered far superior are still not being manufactured. This is SRN News.
You know, if you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is. So here's what I do want. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay. I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on. You need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Hey, it's Jay from the Melting Pot. One of the greatest gifts you can give your loved ones, family members, and best friends this holiday season is your time. And unlike other restaurants, you're not considered a table turn. We celebrate your time with us and each other when you come in and break bread together. We recognize a meal together these days is not just a photo op, but a real-life memory. We love to brag about our food, but we also love to brag about the memories you allow us to be part of. Happy New Year, and here's to new memories at the Melting Pot, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
Hey, we gon' sip the card like it's your birthday. Me in the club, bottle full of bug. Look, mommy, I got the hits. I'm getting to taking drugs. I'm in the having sex. I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug. Get in the go, Sean.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network across the state of South Carolina. Great to have you with us. Quick update on the USC women's basketball game. It's 27-22, USC over Texas A&M. At the media timeout, under 4 media timeout, 27-22, USC is on top. Pleasure to welcome into Sports Talk for the first time. Don't expect it to be the last, the first of many. The new football coach at Presbyterian College, Coach Steve Englehart, joining us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Coach. How are you?
Hey, good evening, guys. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, and welcome to South Carolina. It's great to have you here.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, I got here Sunday night, and you know, it's been great. There, you know, so many great people here at PC, and been so welcoming, and I'm just really looking forward to getting going and really getting to know these players. But it's been a whirlwind. Obviously, you know how things go when you come in and take over a program, and you know, started getting right to work on Monday, and a lot of housekeeping and things like that to take care of, but just started finishing up some of our player meetings and some individual meetings, and just really excited to get to know them and get going here in Clinton, South Carolina.
How did this come about for you? You had a lot of success down in Florida at Florida Institute of Technology, 13 years there. How did it work out for you to get the job at PC?
Well, you know, it's an interesting thing. You know, I started the program at Florida Tech in 2011, actually, and we had our first season in 2013. And after 7 seasons, because of COVID, they shut down the program. And so I kind of hung around there in Melbourne, and my son is a senior quarterback this year, so I decided to stick with him and watch his senior year and play, but really was itching to get back in the game. And you know, believe it or not, I applied for this job here at Presbyterian now a couple times, but you know, it was always a job that interested me. Obviously, South Carolina, I believe, is a great place. We came here, my Florida Tech team came here in 2016 and played them. And when we came on campus and just kind of being around and just kind of seeing the atmosphere and stadium and everything, I thought, man, this is a great little, you know, I think a diamond in the rough, and I think it'd be really successful if they get the right person in there. And so that's kind of how it came about. I decided, hey, I got to get back into this thing, and started applying to different jobs, and was a finalist on a couple jobs. And then when I met with Rob, the athletic director here, and Matt, the president, it was just I just knew that this is where I needed to be, and this is exactly what I need to be doing. And once again, just excited to be here, and all the support that has been here. And I really feel like you know, this place is gonna turn the corner. I think the people here, and not only at the university, but you know, in the community, they want a winning football team, and we're going to do everything we can to give it to them.
What do you think your secret recipe is? What's in your sauce that's going to make it successful?
Well, to me, it's all about culture, and culture will beat scheme every time. It's not that hard. It's one of those things that you get everybody going in the right direction. You get everyone loving each other and playing for each other. And there's a lot of different strategies and things that we do, to get that going. I've always said it doesn't matter what you do; it matters how you do it. And how you do something is how you do everything. And we're just going to try to do everything right in everything we do. And we're going to, compete every day, and we're going to hold each other accountable every day. And we're going to have, a lot of fun, working really hard. Once again, we're going to just love the heck out of each other and work hard and celebrate like heck when we win,
I understand. Talking with Coach Steve Englehart, new football coach at Presbyterian. So what do you like to do on offense? I mean, I know score points and avoid punting, but I'm sure punting is part of what you do. See, I'm not going to ask the obvious question that I'm sure you've been asked 100 times. And then defensively, what schemes do you favor? And I see where you just hired your coordinators, offense and defense.
Yeah, so offensively, we've always been really multiple. We do a lot of different things. I like. I've always been multiple because I've always felt like if you pigeonhole yourself into one type of scheme or one philosophy or one way of thinking, that may not always work, and you may need other things to end up beating a certain team, or if you have injuries and things like that. So we'll base out of a lot of probably 11 personnel, which is your 3 wide receivers, tight end, and a running back. But we'll go into 2 tight end sets. We'll go into 4 and 5 wide sets. So we do a lot of different type of thing like that. But we're very balanced. We run the ball a lot of different ways. We'll spread you out to pass it, and then we'll get double tight ends in there and things like that to throw it off play action. So, we do a little bit of everything, but we try to really cater to the talent that we have. It's all about the players and getting the ball to the right players. Defensively, once again, I think what we do is kind of multiple. We'll base out of, probably a more 3 down front, some odd stuff, but we'll get into 4 down looks. 4-2-5, type of thing. Obviously, with a lot of the pass happy offenses and spread offenses that you get, I think that suits you better if you can go back and forth between a little bit of odd and 4-2-5. And we're going to play complementary football. We're going to punt them down to the 2, and defense is going to hold them and sway field position and different things like that. So special teams is a huge part of what we do, and we spend just as much time on that as what we do on offense and defense. And I think you win a lot of games like that.
So you just said that 4-letter word, punt, that kind of became a sticking point there at PC under Coach Kelly in the last year. He did not like the punt. That was part of his thing. You're a little more traditional in your approach to football, understanding that sometimes you have to play field position.
Well, yeah, of course. Everybody has different philosophies and different ways of doing things and different beliefs, and respect Coach Kelly a ton and what he's done in his career, and he made a lot of people think differently about how to play the game, and it was successful some places. It didn't happen to be super successful here, but I am a little more traditional. I'm probably a little more old school, and I like to play defense, and I like to run the ball, and I like to run play action, and I like to once again play complementary football, and all those things are important, I believe, to have a successful team. But once again, that's just my belief, and if I can get everybody else on this team to believe the same way, then I think we'll be successful.
All right, and you come from Division II football. I guess you had scholarships you were offering down there at Florida Tech. Now you go to a situation where it's Division II, but it's non-scholarship. How does that change the way you recruit? How do you deal with that from your experience in recruiting on the Division II level?
Well, it is a little bit different, but just to a little bit about my career. I was at I spent 8 years at Division III. Obviously there's not athletic scholarships in Division III, so we were able to recruit non-scholarship players, and once again, it's really about what you sell, and you have a niche at a school, and you sell the heck out of that school, and you get players to want to come to your school for a variety of different reasons. And obviously the first one is the education, and then an opportunity to be a part of a program that is going to help them develop and mature as not only football players but as young men. And so you have certain people that you recruit, and no matter what level you're at. I was at Division III, recruited that way. Then I went to Indiana State. We were obviously Division I AA scholarship, full scholarship, and then we went to Florida Tech. In my first several years at Florida Tech, we didn't have the full complement of scholarships like our opponents, like Valdosta State and West Alabama and Delta State and those people, and North Greenville, for instance. But we got more over the course of time, and then now you're back into a Division I situation. So you have Division I rules, here at Presbyterian. You have Division I facilities and all those things, and but you're kind of going back to a lot how you recruited at Division III, and you academically package those players. So really recruiting is recruiting, and to me, recruiting is about relationships, and obviously, selling something and getting those people to buy into it, those families to buy into it, and sometimes scholarships makes it easier, but it's not always the guarantee for sure.
Sure. Last thing, we'll let you go. This is most important to me. So you're from Terre Haute. You were a quarterback at Indiana State. Are you good friends with Larry Bird?
I'm not good friends with Larry Bird. I have met Larry Bird, and I have his brother. Gosh darn it, what is his name? He got a brother named Eddie, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but he still lives in Terre Haute, and we used to always see him, out at restaurants and different places. So, and he looks just like Larry, but to me, Larry's my all-time favorite player, and probably being from Terre Haute and going to Indiana State, that would be the reason why. But he was a heck of a ball player.
Oh, yes, he was. Yes, he was. Well, we look forward to following your era at Presbyterian. The Blue Hose, the fans there, they deserve a good, solid, successful program. Sounds like you have a great plan in mind, and we look forward to covering you, having you on the show regularly. Get down there to visit you in August when we come through with our preseason little tour that we do around the state. And thank you so much for your time. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you, guys. I look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you, sir. All right, Steve Englehart, the new head football coach at Presbyterian, as he said, just got on the job first part of this week as far as getting down to Clinton. Got to teach him the proper way to say Clinton. I think he said Clinton. Clinton.
If Chris were here tonight, he would have scolded him multiple times for that.
Clinton. Sounds like a good guy and a good football coach. I remember those teams from Florida Tech. I think they came in and played Newberry a time or two as well. All right, we got to give you the recruiting report. We'll get to that coming up after the break.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of Co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
COVID-19 booster shots are now available for all South Carolinians 16 and older. Increase your protection from COVID-19 by getting your booster shot. Learn more at scdhec.gov/COVID-19 booster. Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxfax.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, hunting season is upon us. How do we stay safe in a field?
There are 3 rules that every hunter should follow when they're hunting with a firearm. Number 1, treat every firearm due to respect a loaded gun. If you treat your firearm as if it's loaded, you'll always, number 2, keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction. And number 3, when you decide to pull the trigger, make sure of your target, identify it, and know what's beyond it in case you miss.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
COVID-19 booster shots are now available for all South Carolinians 16 and older. Increase your protection from COVID-19 by getting your booster shot. Learn more at scdhec.gov/COVID-19 booster. Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxfax.
All right, hate to get to recruiting so late, but so busy, and I got to drop in another story that's crucial to me. But first of all, recruiting brought to you by Seawells. And tomorrow, is tomorrow a roast beef Friday at Seawells? We're certainly hoping so. Daily lunch and buffet at Seawells tomorrow, 11 to 2. Do we have an update on the menu?
We do. So, well, yeah, tomorrow we do have carved roasted sirloin of beef, southern fried chicken, and smoked pork ribs.
Oh, my gosh. You got to get out there for that, people. If you're not going to get out for that, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'd like to be there. I got to go out of town in the morning, so I'm not going to make it tomorrow. So that just means more for the rest of you. Because if I were there, I'd be getting a big chunk of that roast beef. I promise you that. 11 to 2, the luncheon buffet. It's only $12. And, of course, for the very best in the catering business, always, Seawell should be the first call you make at 803-771-7385. Before I get to recruiting, I'm so upset. I don't need this right now. So I just happened to run across this, but apparently Aaron Rodgers and his girlfriend, Shailene Woodley, are no more. They were supposed to get married. He's called off the wedding. And I saw this little quote here from somebody in this story. An insider source said that they didn't spend Christmas together. The wedding is off. Rodgers isn't pulling his weight and is never around. He chose football over her, and she's devastated. Now, let me say, I'm sorry you're devastated, but he made the right call. He needs to be focused on football. He's got an entire world on his shoulders, okay? So I'm sorry he broke your heart, but do not try to contact him over the next month. Leave him be.
Corn, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here for a second. This just sounds like the man trying to take down your boy Aaron Rodgers with all the stuff we've had about his vaccination status and whether his teammates like him and blah, blah, blah. Just seems like, hey, let's stir up the pot, stir up some drama and see if we can keep him from performing at his best in the playoffs. So let's see what happens with this in the future.
Now, Shailene Woodley gave an update and said to Entertainment Tonight, there's no wedding happening. There's no rush. We've got no rush. He said they're just enjoying their time being engaged. Okay. So maybe they haven't split. They're just not getting married right now. And you know what? Like I said, Shailene, go do a movie or something, but you leave Aaron alone right now. He's got bigger fish to fry than getting married to you. He needs to be married to the pigskin. Okay. Now that I've had my moment here of TMZ, let's give you the recruiting report. 2023 linebacker Troy Ford Jr., 6'2", 233 of Savannah. Tomorrow's going to drop his top 8. USC should be in there. Talking a lot with the Gamecocks, he said, and hearing a lot from Gamecock fans who are texting him. And he said that he could definitely see himself in their defense, likes the way Clayton White runs his linebackers in there. Thinks by working hard, he could see some early playing time. He's going to visit Arkansas next weekend, USC on the 22nd, UCF on the 29th. He's been talking to Clemson, but they haven't offered. He doesn't feel like they'll be in his top 8. As he put it, might be a little too late. Coastal Carolina, Mississippi State, Missouri, and Georgia Tech have been talking to him as well. 2023 defensive end, Montague Rames, 6'6", 240 from Sumter. What a great name. And he has a game as well. 70 tackles, 21 for loss, 7 sacks last season. USC is among his offers. He plans to be on hand Saturday. He said they've been contacting his coaches, checking on his grades. He's been talking to, he was talking to Mike Peterson. Now he says it's Shane Beamer and Taylor Edwards. They want him to stay home, be a part of their defense. He went to games at USC, Clemson, North Carolina, NC State. Clemson's not yet offered, but Lemansky Hall did contact him last week, and so they're going to get back to him. And he said that was like his first phone call from a Clemson coach. He did go to their camp. He will eventually put out a list of favorites. He's not looking to make a decision until after his senior season. Clemson offered 2023 receiver Noah Rogers, 6'1", 180, Rollsville, North Carolina. USC has also previously offered. He has many other major offers. He went to NC State on December 11th. 31 catches, 660 yards, 11 touchdowns last season. Clemson offered 2023 corner Damari Brown, 6 feet, 175 of Fort Lauderdale. His father is Selwyn Brown, who played at Miami. All the Florida schools are heavily involved. Tonight, USC offered 2023 offensive tackle Sam Pendleton, 6'4", 274 from Pfafftown, North Carolina. USC target 2023 linebacker Whit Weeks of Watkinsville, Georgia, offered by LSU. He and his brother, Virginia transfer linebacker West Weeks, planning to visit USC Saturday. Clemson target 23 offensive tackle Luke Montgomery, Findlay, Ohio, offered by Southern Cal. Clemson target 23 offensive tackle Peyton Kirkland, Orlando, offered by Houston. Clemson target 23 quarterback Arch Manning of New Orleans, offered by Oklahoma. 23 tight end Connor Cox, Jacksonville, plans to be at USC Saturday, as does 24 defensive back Zion Ferguson, Loganville, Georgia. 23 defensive end Xavion Hardy of Macon, Georgia, plans to visit USC on the 22nd. 23 receiver Christian Hamilton, Harrisburg, North Carolina, has USC Clemson in his top 12. Others are Notre Dame, Louisville, Texas A&M, NC State, North Carolina, Penn State, Georgia, Purdue, Oregon, Wake Forest. 23 tight end Lawson Lucky, Norcross, Georgia, who had an offer from USC, committed to Georgia. Chapin offensive tackle Chase Swigert received a PWO offer from Penn State. Penn State refers to it as a PRO offer, preferred run-on, also known as pro. 23 River Bluff wide receiver Apollos Cook, 6'2", 203, plans to visit Virginia Tech. January 29th, 23 running back Jarvis Green of Dutch Fork plans to visit Wake Forest on Monday. 6'7", Taj Thweet announces a transfer to Coastal Carolina from West Virginia.
One more note to add here, Corn. We had some news out of Louisiana today that might interest Clemson fans, where Sunbelt Freshman of the Year Montrell Johnson announced that he's transferring to Florida following his former head coach Billy Napier. Now, keep in mind, Florida has a very deep running back room. Their top 2 rushers entered the draft, but DeMarcus Bowman, who transferred from Clemson, still there. Another 5 stars there, another one this year. And now Travis Etienne's little brother, Trevor Etienne, has committed to Florida. Who knows what might happen there?
You thinking flip?
I'm thinking potentially. He would be 5th on the depth chart right now entering next season.
Well, he might be better than all of them, though. I think that ship has sailed, but we shall see. At the half, USC women leading Texas A&M 26-24. Boston with another double-double. It's 10 in a row for her. That's a program record, 15 and 10. Gamecocks are only shooting 29%, but they are out-rebounding A&M 24-16. And in the paint, 16-10. And also, Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State. Give you a quick update as soon as it pops up here. 53-53 in the second half. Winthrop leading Asheville 39-36. Greensboro over the Citadel 33-18. Have a great night. Thanks for being with us. See you tomorrow.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you.